Hello, and welcome to the Aging Answers podcast. I'm Rob Faubion from Age of Central Texas. We're a regional nonprofit organization that serves older adults and family caregivers. Our Aging Answers podcast is brought to you by HEB because no store does more for family caregivers and older adults in Central Texas than my HEB.
You know HEB for quality fresh food at low prices to help you eat well. Now, HEB has primary care physicians and dietitians on staff to help you get and stay well. And because HEB believes affordable care should be accessible to all Texans, monthly memberships and cash payment options are available. Let HEB's team of highly reputable and experienced care providers help you on your health journey. Virtual and in-office visits are available. Visit heb.com/wellness to learn more today.
November is National Family Caregiver Awareness Month. So today we are going to talk about 3 tips to help you in your caregiving journey. Joining us today is Dianne Preston, our program director for our CaregiverU education program. Good morning, Dianne.
Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
So glad that you are here. So let's talk about some ways that caregivers can arm themselves and be better prepared in their caregiving journey.
So today I have the top 3 tips for you to help you organize your caregiving journey, as well as set you up for some success and help you ultimately prevent burnout and prevent some of the extra stressors that certainly can come with caregiving. And I'm going to be listing quite a few things, so you may want to take notes. It's up to you. You can always rewatch this with some of the lists I'm going to mention. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is keeping a care binder. This is your number one way to get organized and to keep everything you need in one place, if at all possible. And building a care binder will not happen overnight. It's not something you can maybe probably just do in a weekend. You start slow and just kind of build it out as you go. So some of the recommendations, first of all, is keeping a zippered binder. One, there's safety and security aspects to that. And also you might have loose items like business cards from providers and other notes that may fall out. So zippered one is nice. You can also personalize it with photos or decorate it even with your care recipients. It's kind of a nice kind of project to do together even. So they know where all their information is as well as you. And so when you think about the binders and what to put in or on the tabs that I'll talk about, think about all the aspects of your recipient's care that you've ever had to search for or keep track of or explain to someone. So it's something you need to remember. If it's something you need to remember, make a tab for it. So the first tab I would suggest is health. Certainly, health history, current conditions, explanations of those, glossary of terms. Are there nutrition instructions for your person? Are there lifting or toileting or bathing procedures that someone would need to know? Medications, current medications and dosages are very, very important to keep up with. And as a side note on that one, get rid of old medications and anything not currently taken. It's very, very important, particularly if there's an emergency and your recipient needs to go to the hospital. The providers need to know what exactly they're taking, the dosages currently, including supplements, by the way. So does your person need to have required supplies for the health, any physical therapy information, et cetera, and any details of what to look for and also what not to do with health conditions? That's also important. Okay, so second tab would be probably important contacts, right? Any important or emergency contact information that you can provide, medical providers, hospice information, other home care or other care or respite providers, legal and financial advisors, and probably home service advisors or providers, anything that is pertinent as far as a contact goes. Keep it all in one place. A third tab might be schedules and routines. Do you keep a daily or weekly or monthly calendar? Do you have you can keep upcoming appointments and procedures, any routines like morning or nap time, bedtime routines, showering, toileting, etc. Any transportation procedures or directions? things of that nature are good under that tab. Next one would be financial and legal. So you can keep them in two separate or together. And this is where you'd want to keep your insurance information, information about your financial power of attorney, and estate planning documents. And if you wanted to keep those more private, I would probably at least include where to find those documents should anything happen to you or your person. So who are they kept with, or where might those be found by somebody else? And so with the legal ones, particularly, you'll want to have the medical power of attorney documentation and advanced directives. Not everybody knows that those two things are actually free of charge. You can download those documents, and you just need two witnesses. Doesn't even need to be a notary. So not everybody knows that. And so another tab might be personal. So these are things like activities of daily living and observations of your person. And when you know your person the best, so what would you want somebody else to know? What are some of their preferences? Like, how do they like their coffee, and what are their favorite foods? What do they definitely don't like? What do they not like? What activities do they like? What kind of music? What kind of lighting or tone of voice is important with them? And that's particularly kind of key if you're caring for somebody who has dementia and they can be overstimulated, and they may be most comfortable and experience less confusion when routines are followed and when their environment is more calming. So that's a good thing to know. Also might be notes about your person's mental and or emotional states, and where they might be at any given time, and things like spiritual practices, etc. And then I also would have probably a miscellaneous tab. That would be things for like caregiving task lists or to-do lists, helpful articles and resources, maybe payment tracking for caregiver help, training instructions for people, and also packing list is a good idea in case there's an emergency or your person has to travel, either planned or unexpectedly. So I also recommend a smaller kind of folder to bring to medical appointments if you're don't want to bring that entire binder. And then you can keep those relevant medication lists, some observations, thinking about those questions you might have for a medical provider ahead of time. Because, when we get in the appointments, we sometimes forget all the things that we've kind of thought about, or we forget to sometimes mention those observations we've had about our person. And then also it's a way for you a place to keep your notes, because we can get home and forget about some of those things that were talked about. That's very natural. So that's a recommendation.
Yeah, that folder is very important for when you go to your doctor's appointments, or, we've always said it's not the if you're going to go to the hospital, but when you're going to go to the hospital, that you have all of that information where on the way out the door, you just grab the folder and you go. So make sure you've got your advanced directives in there so that when you get to the hospital, you can show that you do have the medical power of attorney and all of those different things. And whenever you go to the doctor's office at the end of the visit, you can always get a printout of all the information from that visit. I keep that in my folder for my parents, because then I've got that to go back and look at. And more than once when we have been at the doctor, I've been able to reference back, on this visit a year ago, we talked about this. Is that still relevant? Do we still need to do that? And because you've got your folder with you, you've got all the information right there in front of you. So that is really important to have that ready to go when you need it. So that's great information, great thing to have. So what's our number 2 for today?
The number 2 is going to be to build your support network and ask for help. This is not an easy thing for so many of us, and particularly solitary caregivers who do most of the work themselves. It seems to be just difficult for some of us to ask for help, but it's so important to have a support network. And, I first read about these regions that are identified as blue zones. This is a current kind of series that's on TV now, but I read about 20 years ago in National Geographic, and it stayed with me these 20 years. And it was about these areas of the world that have the highest longevity of lifespans. And one of them, they looked at what they have in common, and one of them is in Okinawa, Japan. And one important aspect of their culture are moais, if I pronounce that correctly. They're social support groups that are formed for the purpose of providing various types of support, health, financial, social, spiritual interests. And the study of the benefits of those strong support networks and what they've seen and how helpful they are, they emphasize the human need to be able to lean on each other. And especially when we're caregiving for others, right? We need it. And so think of family members, friends, neighbors, and volunteer organizations who may be able to support you. Not all of us are blessed with large families. Some of us, again, are more solitary caregivers, and we don't have a huge amount of immediate options. So it's up to us to search for some of those options. And so, it doesn't have to necessarily be someone to step in as a caregiver, but it could be someone just to pick up a prescription or make a meal or mow your lawn. What can be helpful to you? Make a list of things when you think about them and have it handy if someone asks you. It's so common for us to hear, oh, let me know how I can help. And we just kind of blank out, or we don't get back to somebody on that. And so if you make those lists and have them handy, even on your phone, and you're asked, or you can proactively ask somebody what they can do for you, or if you have something specific, that's going to be very helpful. Right. So, be again as specific as you can to think about what you need, and maybe the people who are right for those. You have a friend who likes, handy person type work, can they install those grab bars that you may need, or make you a good meal, like I said. So, using those resources when you can, and not hesitating to ask, because people really do like to help. We like to feel useful. We like to feel part of a community, and that builds those bonds between us. It builds bonds, build bonds with your care recipient. And it's important to show our gratitude, certainly when someone helps us out, but most of us will do that not for the gratitude, but it's helpful. All right, another suggestion for building your support network is joining a support group. Being with other caregivers can be really helpful. There's a lot of different advice and experiences, and all of us are walking different journeys or different paths, but we have ideas with things we've tried and have worked, haven't worked, and sometimes we just need to express how we're feeling and have other people who care about it. Now, caregiver groups or support groups are not one size fits all. So if you try one and it doesn't resonate with you, then try another one. There are lots of online and now also back in-person support groups for caregivers on the AGE website. So the AGE website is www.ageofcentraltx.org. And that is under caregiver support groups, caregiver support, or caregiver resources. And you can find a list of our current caregiver support groups all around the city or the area. So not just from AGE. Another suggestion is to take a CaregiverU class. That is what I help provide the community with. They're evidence-based and research-informed classes, but they're free to the community. Some are offered in person, some are online. And we have we have classes for caregivers. Powerful Tools for Caregivers is our big evidence-based one. And then we also have a Savvy Caregiver, another dementia-specific online class, empowering you to be a strategic dementia caregiver. So that's very, very helpful when you're when you're caregiving. Another suggestion is to establish respite care options. Every caregiver needs at least short periods of rest and relief. We're not superhumans. And, we all need time off to run errands, take care of personal business, maybe just have lunch with a friend or by ourselves. You'll also need respite care for other reasons, like if you need to or want to go on a vacation, or if you need to go out of town. If you become ill and you can't care for your person, or you have maybe an out of town, obligation or some kind of emergency. So most respite options do have an intake process which takes time. So even if you're unsure if you'll actually use that option, it's good to be prepared. So, when you contact a care community or facility, then you can kind of take care of that intake process early, and then you have it in your pocket, and keep those contacts in your binder, and any instructions for setting up that respite on the spot if you need to. So you don't want to have to start the process if you're in a crisis situation, remember, so do it before you actually need the services. So let's explore some respite options. One is in-home care. And these are various in-home care agencies that provide personal care attendants or home health aides that come to the care receiver's home typically, or the caregiver's home they can give companionship, right? Supervise that person, sometimes light household services or other daily activities of living like bathing, etc. And that's usually for a fee. Or they might be individual home care workers, and that's somebody who is not working through an agency but provides care for a fee. There's also several options for out-of-home care. Adult day centers are fantastic options for caregivers looking for one or more days of regular respite care on a weekly basis. Now, AGE of Central Texas has 2 adult day centers called AGE Thrive and Social Wellness Centers. One is in Round Rock, and a very convenient location. And another currently is at our Central Thrive location. We're about to move that south to our brand new South Park Meadows building as soon as that's finished, very, very soon. So one advantage to using a day center is that even if you only have to use it once or twice a week to start with, it still gives your person a chance to get familiar with the facility. So down the road, if more days are required, there's less of an adjustment as the person already kind of knows the staff and maybe other members there. I visited one of them yesterday, and they were having a ball. They were playing some kind of like table ping pong with they were all laughing, and they really enjoyed that social time. But to know there is also a nurse on site. It is a secure facility for those who may experience or have dementia symptoms, and they need to, stay in place. And they're also fed great meals, and it's just a fabulous option. So another one, maybe social respite groups that provide recreation or fellowship, maybe a meal to older adults needing supervision. Now, some social respite groups are dementia specific and some are not. Oftentimes, these are through a faith community's ministry and are offered free of charge, usually like once a week. They'll have like a regular day of the week that they do respite. Sometimes it's at home, but oftentimes it's like at the faith community. And they are usually an intake process for most of those to make sure it's kind of a right fit. Now, another option, particularly for if overnight care is needed, that some assisted living and or memory care communities may be able to or may have a bed or some beds available on sporadic basis for overnight or maybe an all-day situation if it's needed, like for an emergency or an illness for the caregiver. So there's usually a cost also in an intake process for those. And so it's good to do those, set those up ahead of time and just kind of have those in your binder, have them in your pocket, and have at least 2 places in case one place is full, if you're in a crisis situation and you need that. So whichever types of respite you choose, we encourage you to use respite care and build that network, not just for emergencies, because you need a break. So it's part of good self-care, which I'll talk about next.
Yeah, it is so important as caregivers that we recharge our batteries because, as you mentioned, we're not superhuman and we have to take care of ourselves. We always say that's not being selfish, that's being realistic, because me as the caregiver taking care of my mom and dad, what happens if I get sick, if something happens to me, if I go down, who's going to take care of them? And so I have to prioritize my health, my mental health, my well-being. And So there are so many ways to do that. Respite is a tremendous opportunity for that. And as you mentioned, something as simple as just asking someone, can you do something for me? Takes one thing off of your plate. And it's so important to have that list ready because, as you said, a family member is going to say, oh, just let me know whenever you need something. And if you can immediately say, hey, you know what would really help me? Can you come over on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock and sit with mom while she watches Wheel of Fortune, which she loves? You don't have to do anything but just sit there with her so that I can go answer emails for 30 minutes. Something that's that simple. So have that list ready so when someone says, just let me know what I can do, you are prepared to say, it'd be great. Can you pick up prescriptions for me? Can you come over and do this? Can you help me with that? Remember that not everybody's cut out to be a caregiver, and not everybody is going to say sure. It's kind of daunting for a lot of folks. And remember, if they say no, that's okay. And they're not saying no forever. They're just saying no for right now. So that's all right. But be prepared so that when they do offer help, you are ready to say, that would be awesome. Would you mind doing XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that leads us to our number 3 in taking care of ourselves as caregivers.
Mm. And I actually just want to add on what you said, Rob, because I was thinking that same thing. I was going to remind y'all that if somebody says no, right, don't stop asking. Or maybe you put that on them. Okay, if you're not available now, when are you available? Because we're all human. We have lives to lead and things going on. And another aspect of that is you may have friends or family members that are just uncomfortable, who don't really, they're not sure that they can provide that care. They're nervous about, not being able to handle a situation. So the more you can help inform them, the more you can educate your support network about your person's condition and what daily life looks like, and the more comfortable they can be, that might make the overall situations a lot easier for people.
And also, it might be something that they can do that doesn't require them to provide any care.
Right.
Something as simple, the next time that you're at the grocery store, will you pick up a box of pull-ups for dad? Something that simple that saves you a trip.
Mm-hmm.
And it saves you the hassle of having wrestle dad in the car to take him with you, go to the grocery store, get him back home, all of that. It eliminates a lot of simple things. And that's something anybody can do. I'm going to go to the grocery store anyway. I can do that for you. So think of other ways that they can help take a little of the burden off of you, and it saves you some time and buys you a little time as well.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so the third point and top tip is to create self-care action plans. We hear about self-care often, and it still goes on the back burner for most of us who are caregivers. The importance of building our resiliency and recharging our own batteries cannot be emphasized enough. And if you neglect your own health, like Rob said, if you become incapacitated, who is going to be there to care for your person? And, you also the experiences of, of burnout, of, sheer exhaustion, that's real. And that happens frequently when caregivers do not take care of themselves and focus some of their thoughts and energies into that. So, every day, try to do at least one thing for you. And, I'm going to list some categories for you. And so just some ideas to help you brainstorm which types of self-care might be right for you. Because, well, for me, you hear about the proverbial, I just got to go have a pedicure. Well, you know what? My caregiver friend who's caring for her father took her father and her, they had a pedicure together. That was also some self-care together. But to many of us, they don't just come to mind, things that we can do for ourselves beyond just a few, splurges. So here are some thoughts. So I'm going to put them in categories. The first would be physical. So this is things that would nurture your body. So it might be, getting health and wellness checkups, prioritizing enough sleep, stretching, walking, exercising, maybe doing yoga, which I love, enjoying healthy, nutritious meals, just, caring for your body. The next one would be emotional. It's taking care of our emotional health. And that may, it's calming your nervous system. That's maybe comes through trying new coping skills or focusing on compassion for yourself or talking to a therapist or counselor, maybe journaling your thoughts and feelings or finding your favorite stress management tools like painting or working on a puzzle somewhere where you can zone out or something where you can zone out. Another aspect is social. So this is connecting with others. This is like building, again, like your support networks that I talked about, your support systems, using positive social media, maybe communicating with your loved ones, scheduling time with your friends, and perhaps social self-care looks like drawing clear boundaries, and practicing this, maybe sometimes harder communication skills with other people in your life. And so, good self-care is nurturing those relationships, even when they're not always easy, maybe especially when they're not always easy. Another aspect is your spiritual self-care. And this could be whatever you consider meaningful. Maybe that's just spending time alone, or being out in nature, listening to guided meditations, maybe joining a faith community if you're not already part of one, or getting more involved in your faith community if you are. Maybe it's creating a special space in your home for just some quiet contemplation. So there's some thoughts for you. Another aspect is your intellectual self-care. You still want to, and for your own health, need to exercise your own brain, right? Maybe that's just reading books or articles of interest, listening to podcasts like this one, TED Talks. I love TED Talks. Taking classes, learning something new, cultivating even deep conversations with people challenge yourself and open your mind to new ideas. So that's that intellectual self-care. Another type is mental. So, this is where you want to clear your mind and take time to do that. And it's, that may look like practicing mindfulness, taking just a break, listening to music. I love to create lists because then that downloads all of those to-dos swirling in my head. Right? And once I list them, I'm like, okay, now I can relax. So if you're a lister, carry on. You might also, reflect on your gratitude for even the small things in your life. I find that helpful when particularly I'm really stressed or getting down about something, just doing a little kind of a prayer of gratitude, if you will. So maybe that's your thing. Another type is financial. So, if this is working on decreasing our money stress, if that is something that's part of your life, that may be prioritizing your savings or writing out a current budget, or maybe hiring a money manager, a financial manager, catching up on bills, maybe that's setting goals and boundaries around your financial situation that'll help you feel a little bit better, knowing you have those goals to work towards. And the last one under this self-care category is environmental. So that's finding peace in your surroundings. That maybe that's decluttering. Maybe that's tending or planting a garden. Maybe it's going camping or, glamping. There are a lot of great glamping opportunities now and Airbnbs to go somewhere nice. You can take an easy hike, or you can just love on your pet or somebody else's pet. That's a type of environmental self-care. So I think the most important part of all those, types, or the most important thing about it, is you finding what's right for you. And just try some new things. Maybe you don't know, if you like it or if it's going to kind of serve you, maybe until you try it. So, keep brainstorming, write your own lists, and create a self-care action plan. This is where, it helps you schedule your self-care, because otherwise they can fall to the wayside, right, in our busy lives. So an action plan simply means that you list specific activities that you want to do. And in the, kind of going week to week, we do that in our Powerful Tools class, where you set up an action plan week to week and you list a specific activity, maybe two, but at least just one. And you note how long will you do that for, on which specific days, and how, note your confidence level. Like from a 1 to 10, if you give it that, if you're, 6 or less confident, then what are your barriers? And so maybe sometimes that we have to remove those roadblocks to our self-care. Maybe then we figure out a solution to that. That means I hire somebody once a week, or I take mom or dad or my husband to Thrive Center once a week so I can carve out that time. Right. So I really recommend making an action plan and try a new one weekly. Check in with yourself and, be gentle on yourself. If you don't make that happen, just practice it, just try it. Because as Rob said, self-care is not selfish. Your care receiver will benefit from you taking care of yourself, as well. And you also matter. You deserve to be happy and you deserve to have a good life while you're caregiving. And so I say, above all, give yourself grace, give your care receiver grace for all of our imperfections, our emotional reactions, our mistakes. There's one of my favorite songs is titled "Bless Your Sweet Mistakes," because we make them. It's okay. We'll move past that, but that the caregiving journey is not easy. And so I have a mantra for you that I love, and I want you to repeat this to yourself if you so choose. I am doing the best I can with the tools and resources available to me at this time. Because you are. So please reach out for any support that AGE of Central Texas can give you through CaregiverU or Information and Resource Center. You can see our website, and we're here to help you. We're here to support you and guide you however we can. Thank you.
As Dianne mentioned, we have a lot of resources on the AGE of Central Texas website under our Caregiver Resources tab. So there's lots of information there that can assist you in your caregiving journey. Also want to point out some of our partners that have great information as well. The Family Caregiver Alliance is a national organization. You can find them online at caregiver.org with lots of great information and resources. Our friends over at AARP are experts in caregiving as well, and they have tremendous resources on their webpage, lots of videos, lots of great information to help you in your journey. And then also our friends over at the Alzheimer's Association. They have a tremendous amount of information, and they also have live 24/7 caregiving experts that can help you. And you don't have to be caring for someone living with Alzheimer's to access their information. They are a great resource as well. And as always, remember that, as Dianne said, you're doing the best you can with the information that you've got. And always remember, there's never any shame in asking for help, because none of us were born to be caregivers. This is not something that comes to us naturally. And as our journeys change, so do our needs. And so it's always important to ask for that help. And that's why organizations like AGE of Central Texas are here, is to provide you with that assistance when you need it. Dianne, thank you so much for all this great information and these great tips. I love that they are things that are easy to do and that we can actually all start doing today. And thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. We appreciate you taking your time to learn about caregiving and how to make your caregiving journey better. We hope that you have a wonderful day. And remember that we have many more podcasts here on our YouTube website, and you can find those and check those out with more information. We bring you our Aging Answers podcast every month. And so next month, we will be back with another brand new topic. In the meantime, please take care of yourself and hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.